Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Tuesday. It's February 28th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And you can see on the daily chart just another very bearish day, but it's really just kind of a range day that closed on its lows. You can see that the support across here, we still didn't really breach that support. It still continues to hold, and we're just kind of working sideways here. So even though this looks relatively bearish, and we did close lower and close well off the lows for we closed on the lows of the day basically. Um, Still in the big picture, it looks more like a range day. So I think we're still just seeing the sideways action. So let's flip over to the 2000 tick intraday chart. Not a lot of trades today. A very difficult day to try to trade, to be honest. So let's flip over there and take. And here's what it looked like in the big picture. You can see we're just working sideways, and notice, we don't have any real consistent lows and highs here. We had a couple up here, and maybe we got a little consistent just in that one spot there, but you really want to see it turn these lows every time and off these highs every time, or somewhere in there like that, and you just don't get that today. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason in this. You're just chopping aimlessly until we finally went higher. We got a little bit of a trend up, and then a fairly nice sell-off here late in the day. I mean, this was a big trend down, and once we had this break, there's clearly two measured legs before we had a correction, and then into the close, sold off even more. So as you see, there's not a lot of trades today. This is difficult to trade. Uh, I love range days when it turns up off the lows every single time right across the same area, and when it turns down off the highs. Those are like gimme days. But this is not this is not a gimme range by any means. This is very difficult to trade. Just when you think the market's going lower, it's going higher, and then when you think it's going higher, it's going lower. And there's really just no rhyme or reason here. It's just a range day without any real sense of direction. And the trends aren't long enough to really get established and get a setup, and there just weren't a lot of setups. Even in the trends, there's not a lot of setups today, so it's just one of those days. And unfortunately, you get days like this, and the worst thing to do is try to force a trade in here and get chopped up, and then you have a loser, and then you try to say, I got to get that back, and then because it's just chopping around, it's really hard to get a good trade, and you end up having two or three losers, and the next thing you know, you had a big losing day. And when really all you should have done is just probably sat tight or walked away. So it's just one of those kind of days, unfortunately. But let's zoom in here, go through the trades, and wrap this day up. So 7 o'clock comes just as uh, we corrected here, and just as we're coming back with this lower high, and you see we got a lower high with a big bearish bar, still way away from the EMA. I love that setup. Um, then it makes a failed second entry long. Still haven't got back to the EMA. I'd probably take that trade too. And if you take that one, you probably get a nice runner going here. Um, Comes down, corrects again. You do get a close outside the trend line, and then just a big sell off, and then we reverse and go the other direction. And again, I don't see there's just nothing all the way up here. You get a close outside, and then you're just chopping around in here. We also had this 9 o'clock consumer confidence, high volatility, best to be out 15 or 20 minutes prior, 10 minutes at the most. I'd be out just in case. This is really a non-factor, nothing going on here. Um, by the counts, there is a failed second entry short here, but I wouldn't trade that. That just looks like one leg up and a pullback. It doesn't set up properly, and you can see we're just chopping around here aimlessly for the most part. There is a second entry short here, but my signal bar is no good. Maybe yours was, mine's not. Then we bounce here and go higher, turn back down, and we bounce a couple more times, and eventually, you get a good signal bar after a close and a new low. So you could look at that as at least a triple test, quadruple test. A little bit of room back to the EMA. I like that one. That's probably the best trade I've seen all morning, other than these two initial trades, and that's the only thing I've marked on. I mean, this is hard to sit through, but that's what you have to do if you want to be a successful trader. The idea is not to take trades. The idea is to make money. And if you don't think you can make money taking a trade, don't take it. Just sit tight or close up shop and go home. But anyway, we rally, close outside, two legs up, and we turn down, and no signal bar. Lower high, no signal bar. Maybe you got a failure here, but it's, it does look like two legs. It's not really where you're looking for a reversal or anything. You've had some strong support across here. It just failed out. It could just turn down, test it, and turn back up. Maybe there's enough room. Maybe it's one you argue could be green on a failure, but that's a little more advanced, so it's not going to be for most of you anyway. And then, of course, we just reverse out of here. No real way. There's a higher low here. Notice first entry and then second entry. I didn't mark this one, but after the fact, looking back, I like that trade, and I probably should have at least marked it green. So let's do that. What you have is a leg up, a two-legged correction, and then another leg up that fails. And so you probably trap some people right there. And so if it breaks higher, maybe you go with them. So I'm going to mark that at least green. And it runs up, you get a close outside, couple of legs up you get multiple swings up to a new high, really. This one's tempting because you've tried to go short. There's a little triple test right there, but it's just an inside bar. There's not much room to these closes here, although this is really the bar you're more worried about. You got to worry about those closes sometimes too. I just think you're better to skip it. You've already had a move to two legs up to a new high. You could get trapped right there. We're not even back to the EMA yet either. So we do push higher, and then there's another failure here, but that looks too congested. I don't like it. We run down, and then finally you find some support here. Again, it's very similar to where we were earlier. And of course you get the close outside, and you do make a new low there, and you get a triple test halfway. It's not a great signal bar though. There's still plenty of room back to the EMA. Maybe you take that trade. But notice too, you run up, you get a first entry short, and then you push higher and you get a second entry short. So when it breaks, when it breaks above that bar, that would be your entry. Your stop has to go below this red bar, your safety stop. But that's where you would enter one tick above this bar. And it's probably going to trap some people, so maybe you go along with that right there. Again, I don't like it because it's got that inside bar, and it's got a relatively small body, so it's 3 bars in a row. At least one of them has no body or a tiny body. That's not really a doji or a tiny body, but it's not an ideal signal bar regardless. So I marked it green. And of course we run up, and we get that break, move to a new low, and then reverse. And again, there's no setup here. There's no signal bar. If you had a good signal bar, go long there. Actually, I don't think I'd still go long even with a good signal bar. I'd want to push up and get a higher low there. And you don't get it. It just takes off. So it does run up, make a new high. And then you get it pushes up one more time. You get 2 legs up. So that's a second entry short. Big bearish bar. I like that one. It ends up just staying inside the range and chopping around. And I just don't see anything else in there that's worth taking until it drops out. And then again, nothing here. There's a second entry right there, but no signal bar. You might say a triple test here, but then you only get an inside bar. We've moved too far to enter this as a lower high or anything. And then you get 2 legs back, and again you get another second entry and no signal bar once again. So even when he did get a setup today, there weren't any signal bars. That was my problem. But finally you make a new low, and then you get a first entry, second entry right off the EMA, relatively decent signal bar. I'm going to take that trade. It's one of the few trades you got today that would really met our entry criteria. And you'd already had one leg down, so you would push for a second leg, and you can see that's about what we got there. I don't know why I put that back on there. I already had it on there. And so we made a measured move down. If you could have got a chance to ride that out, by all means, stay with it. And that took us into 230. And we ended up pushing even lower after that. It's not quite 4. We've bounced out of there a little bit. So the day hadn't closed. It's still 10 to 4. I'm doing this a little bit early. I'm going to get out of here a little earlier today. So, but not much of a chart lesson here. Not many trades. Just not a very good trading day. Not much you can do about it. You have days like this. Uh, and even when I did get a setup, like I said, I didn't get a signal bar. So maybe some of these charts looked a little better than mine. If you got a signal bar on some of those, take them. But no signal bar. Everything's got to set up right, or you just don't take it. And even if it goes without you, you can't. Don't look back, because that's going to happen sometimes. But more times than not, it'll filtering out those bad trades. It'll save you a loser. So when you do get one that moves and you followed the rules and did the right thing, don't look back on it. That's what will throw you off. That's one of those mental things that will come back to haunt you. So you probably heard me say that before. If you followed the rules and missed a really good trade, the worst thing in the world you can do is look back and say, I knew I should have taken that trade. And I guarantee you, if you're listening, you've done that, because I've done it before. But what you'll find is the next time you won't listen, you won't follow the rules, and it won't work like it did this time, and you'll get burned. So if you miss a trade and it takes off, even if it's a humongous move, if you follow the rules and you couldn't enter there, you did the right thing. So you have to reinforce that properly, and not reinforce it that, hey, I made a mistake. I knew I should have taken that trade, because the next time you gamble a little bit, because that's what you're doing. You're gambling, and sometimes gambles pay off, but gamblers don't last in this business long term. They eventually go broke. So don't gamble. If it's not a sure thing, it doesn't fit the rules, do not take it. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Make this one quick and short today. Just not much to talk about. It's just not a very good trading day. So if you felt like you had a hard time finding trades, just because there weren't a lot. So at least there weren't on my chart. So anyway, we'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next